Welcome to my next installment in my video lecture series in economics. And in this particular video lecture, I'm going to be taking a look at the problems of congestion externalities and congestion taxes. This particular video lecture relates to my urban economics course, in particular chapter 10, figure 10-3. So here we have a graph that represents the trip cost for individuals who are commuting via a car and the number of vehicles on a particular roadway or road system. Now realize again we have a downward sloping demand curve which represents marginal benefit, meaning that as more and more individuals use a road, the benefit derived by individuals decreases as the road gets more and more congested or the road system gets more and more congested. Additionally, we have two different costs. We have the private trip cost, which is equivalent to the average trip cost. So these trip costs do not include any of the externalities part of road transportation. And then we have the social trip cost or the marginal trip cost curve, which does include all those negative externalities that can occur when driving by car. So in looking at this, the actual level of vehicles that are going to be using this road will be 1,600 because individuals will be on the road as long as their private trip cost is equal to their demand, which is their marginal benefit. However, because the average trip cost does not include the external costs that are being imposed by individuals, this is much higher than what would be the socially optimal, which is where the marginal trip cost is equal to marginal benefit. So at that point there. So at the point where the marginal trip cost, also known as the social trip cost, is equal to demand or marginal benefit, that is the optimal level of vehicles that should be on a road because that's where marginal cost is equal to marginal benefit. So that's one of the principles that we've discussed within this course, the marginal principle. So let's take a look at what's the impact of these extra 400 cars being out on the road. We bring that point straight up to the marginal social cost. So this area represented by A, B, C, these points here, this area in the center here, this is the loss of social welfare that occurs because of those 400 extra cars on the road. The reason being is that the marginal cost of that trip is greater than the marginal benefit. So there's a reduction in social welfare for every single individual above 1,200 up to that 1,600. So for those 400 vehicles, the marginal cost is greater than the marginal benefit, which is going to reduce social welfare. So the question is, how do we get to what is the optimal level of vehicles on a road system? And one of the things that could be imposed is a congestion tax. So I want you to realize, how do we get the congestion tax? It is the area, all right, at the socially optimal level. So we look at where we have 1,200 vehicles on the road, and it's the vertical distance between the average trip cost and the marginal trip cost. This vertical distance here will be the congestion tax that will cause the number of cars on the road to decrease from 1,600 to 1,200. So make sure you're aware of how economists attempt to come up with a calculation for the congestion tax.